the National Gallery of Modern Art Mumbai, Ministry of Culture, Government of India and the Guild Art Gallery take pleasure in welcoming you all to the inauguration of retrospective show, The Earth's House Torn Out, Navjot Altaf, Life in Art. Before the launch, let me first acknowledge the presence of our eminent guests this evening, Shri Adwaita Charan Garanayak, Director General, National Gallery of Modern Art Mumbai. Srimati Anita Rupavataram, Director, National Gallery of Modern Art Mumbai. Miss Roshan, Shahani, eminent art critic. Miss Navjot Altaf, artist whose retrospective is being exhibited. Miss Adajania, Curator of the exhibition. I would like to invite all the esteemed guests from the dais to formally inaugurate the exhibition. We would like to play a Vedic hymn whose keynote is dispelling darkness and ushering in light. Thank you all. Thanks to all, I would like to invite Director, National Gallery of Modern Art Mumbai, Srimati Anita Rupavataram, to formally welcome the guest today. Our director is an Indian Revenue Service officer of the 2003 batch. She is an MPhil in Ancient History from JNU New Delhi. She has a keen interest in Indian music as well as early temple art and architecture. She joined as Director, National Gallery of Modern Art Mumbai in October 2018.
Respected Garanayak ji, Director General, National Gallery of Modern Art, Ms. Roshan Shahani, renowned art critic, Ms. Navjot Altaf, renowned artist whose work to appreciate we've gathered here today, Ms. Adajania, the curator of the show, Ms. Shahani, Director, the Guild Art Gallery and our collaborator for this retrospective, all distinguished invitees, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I extend a warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the National Gallery of Modern Art. May I also add that I feel privileged to be a part of NGMA, which is akin to a place of worship for arts and art lovers, artists and art lovers. The retrospective that's being inaugurated today is a visual treat. It shows how Ms. Altaf is perfection personified. It's also fascinating how Ms. Altaf has so eloquently expressed herself through her art through the years. The curator, Ms. Adajania, the Guild Gallery and the National Gallery of Modern Art team have left no stone unturned to ensure that the exhibition meets the high standards that NGMA has always adhered to. And I would also like to take this opportunity to convey to the art community and the art lovers assembled here that there are interesting times in store for NGMA, as we shall soon be unlocking our own treasures which lie hidden in NGMA Delhi and Bengaluru. We'll be presenting a permanent exhibition for all of you soon. We would, however, be reserving the dome area for outside and temporary exhibitions, and therefore I look forward to associate with you, to connect with you, and with all the artists and art lovers through NGMA. Thank you, and may I now ask Shri to take over.
Thank you, Madam, for your welcome address. I would like to invite Director General, National Gallery of Modern Art, Shri Adwaita Charan Garanayak sir, to address this August gathering.
सबको प्रणाम। चलिए, मैंने जब आया देखा था डिस्प्ले चल रहा था, मतलब इतना मेहनत हुआ शो के लिए। और नवजोत एक्चुअली उनका जो पुराना काम मैं देख रहा था, इतना ऑब्स्ट्रक्ट, उसका बाद सोसाइटी के अंदर जाके, हाँ, और छत्तीसगढ़ में काम करना और एक मतलब रूट को जाके फिर कंटेम्प्रेरी में प्रेजेंट करना, और नैन्सी जी इतना अच्छी तरह से उसको क्यूरेट किए. थैंक यू नैन्सी. सो नाइस, एक्चुअली आई सरप्राइज टू सी सच ए ब्यूटीफुल शो. सो आप लोग उसको एंजॉय करेंगे. आज नैन्सी और नवजीत का डे, थोड़ा वो बताएंगे. सबको धन्यवाद.
Now I would like to invite Ms. Nancy Adajania, Curator of the exhibition, for sharing her thoughts about the making of this exhibition.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Thank you, Ms. Rupavataram. It was a pleasure to work with you. Thank you for all your support. Thank you, Mr. Garanayak, for giving your responses to the show. And a warm welcome to everybody here for being here with us. It is a very special evening, and for me it's a great honor to curate the retrospective of Navjot Altaf. I've known her for almost 2 decades now, and in fact the first time I saw a solo of hers was at the Jahangir Art Gallery in this very Kalagoda area, and I was studying at the Elphinstone College in the late 80s, and I came across this solo show by a woman artist, and I was fascinated by the work. These were the large wastegapes, which symbolized maybe a tragedy, perhaps it was the aftermath of violence. And I was both fascinated by the technical accomplishment of the work as well as the political poignancy of it. And that was my first encounter with a large body of Navjot's work. And then it was when she actually began to go to Buster in the late 1990s that I started writing about her work, and I've written a book called The 13th Place, which is available in the bookshop. The wonderful thing about my encounter with Navjot is that we have intersecting worldviews. Although we are many generations apart, we have differences, but we also share a lot of similarities. The important thing is that we both believe in the issues related to social and political justice, and it's that commonality which brings us together to make this exhibition. I also think that it's equally an honor for me to curate this exhibition at the NGMA Bombay. I have curated shows here before as well, and it's always a pleasure to return here and to work with the exhibition team. I think the reason why it's special to curate at the NGMA rather than in a private gallery is because the NGMA is a public institution. It's a democratic space. It's a space which welcomes everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're Anglophone or not. It doesn't matter whether you have social and cultural capital or not. You're still invited into that space. Versus a private gallery, which now, which are no longer walk-in galleries like Kemal or Pandol used to be. These are places where you have to ring the bell, they are in apartment blocks, there's a surveillance camera and so forth. As against that, this is truly a public institution, and therefore we should make it as public as possible. And one of the fascinating things about the NGMA Bombay is that its architecture is also very special versus the NGMA Delhi architecture, which the Jaipur House architecture is a cabinets and corridors logic. It's like a beehive. So it's a maze, it's a beehive, it's more intimate. Versus, as against that, you have the NGMA Bombay. Now, for me, Romy Khosla's design is like a cosmic spiral. And you ascend that spiral and you reach the spinning dome. And in fact, Navjot has a great surprise for you inside the roof of the dome. A beautiful jewel-like projection. So we've used every space of the NGMA and dynamized it. Doesn't matter if it's a corner, a niche, the introdos or the inside of the dome area. And importantly, when you think about the spiral and when you think about Romy Khosla's design, you're going level by level. But I decided in my exhibition design that I'm not going to follow a strict chronology. So you begin at the first level with the recent works, and then they are startlingly juxtaposed with something in 1967 or 68, when Navjot is in the JJ. And then, of course, you will see the different phases of our artworks, Marxist, feminist, collaborative, and so forth. But they are not all in a strictly chronological order. Because I don't believe that any human being dance practice ever goes in a strictly chronological order. You're always moving back and forth. There are continuities and discontinuities. And therefore, every level is like a new beginning, a new detour in her practice, until you reach the top. And then, of course, as I said, you have this sense of the infinite because of the spinning dome. And we've used that sense or that affect of the infinite by using the dome area in such a way that you look at the walls of the dome and then you look up and then you have a surprise. So it's, the dome area for me is like the sky of the exhibition. And I think that, the way we've used it for the first time here is different, because normally you just have a kind of circular ring of paintings all around it. But this time we've really tried to dynamize the space. And again, there are many poetic gestures that are made through the exhibition design, different kinds of interrelationships between the artworks. And I hope you enjoy that. I don't want to say more. I want you to just immerse yourself in the space. It's a very complex hang, and there are works from different periods and across media and format. And importantly, we have works when Navjot was actually an adolescent, even before she went to the JB school, and we have posters of hers from the 1970s, which she made when she was part of the progressive youth movement. And we have iconic paintings and new media work, and also documentation of our collaborative projects. So you have a lot to see. I think you'll have to come back at least 2 to 3 times to have a sense of satisfaction of seeing the whole show. And finally, I'd just like to thank Navjot Altaf, because without her, this exhibition would not have been possible. Shahani for supporting the show and the whole exhibition team. But I think Navjot would like to thank everybody, so I will invite Navjot to do so.
Thank the National Gallery of Modern Art for giving me an opportunity to reflect on my art practice from the time I thought that I would be an artist. And then I would like to thank the Director General, Mr. Garanayak, and the Director of NGMA Mumbai, Shrimati Anita, Rupavataram, and Mr. D'Souza, Mr. Shankar, the Curator, and Deputy Curator Shruti Das, and Assistant Library and Information Officer Chanchal Gyan Chandani, and Mr. Khan, and Mr. Gavas, S. Pallav, Mr. Rajaram Pate. I'm sorry I'm reading these names because I'm not familiar, and Mr. Hemant Parab, Mrs. Krishna Gavas, and the entire security team inside and outside. My experience of working in NGMA, I think I've already expressed to the director, has been so beautiful that most of the people have been extremely, extremely helpful and humble. More than helpful, they were all very humble. And then I would like to thank Nancy Adajania for her astute curatorial discernment, and without her, I don't think I would have envisioned a retrospective exhibition the way it is. And then the director of the Guild Gallery, Shalini Sani, and because of her faith in the artist and this particular project. And then the entire team of the Guild Gallery and from NGMA, which I've already thanked, and Roshan Shahani, with whom I've had long associations, and I know her since the 70s or I think 80s, early 80s, and she's written tremendously on Indian contemporary art, and till now she's been engaged with artist practices. In the end, I would like to also thank all the teams from the Guild, from my own team, my collaborators, my assistants, for making this project possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Navjot ji, for sharing your artistic views and journeys, and thanking all of us for this exhibition. Now I would like to invite Ms. Roshan, our chief guest today, an eminent art critic, to say a few words about the exhibition and the artist.
Well, hello everybody. मुझे यहाँ बुलाया गया just because I'm friends of artists and I'm a very special friend of Navjot. And Shalini and Navjot told me to be here, so I'm here for those reasons. And Shalini's name is Shahani, if I'm right. I am S-Ha-Ha-Ni. So we are, in case we get mixed up. So I've written just a small note because I don't want to be too spread out in my opinions and views and observations. So I've known Navjot for decades, and it is a pleasure to see her take on a responsibility once again in this retrospective of disclosing her vantage point of looking, as it were, intervening, merging herself with stratas of reality and the environment, questioning herself and her own position, initiating an acute critique of power, of systems, displacement and exile, and standpoints of women. Navjot's art practice constantly moves from looking and representation to the domain of the contextual, where probing a situation intensely is a large part of her concerns, as she directs the formal concepts of drawing, picture making, installation, the chorus of videos to get close, immersively close, to an ecology of politics and sociality. In this manner, the discourse on art is widened with the cultural and political winds engulfing and careering through sketches, objects, texts, photographs, the cinematic stream of videos, media interviews, and through methods and materials she deploys. We are led to an awareness of a transgressive art, transgressive art practice that finds equivalence in a pukar. It is a perpetual insignia and a murmuring undercurrent in her work. The still frame of the earth, monstrously dredged out and created with the cinematic lens, enclosing a clouded horizon, dwells on the question of progress, industry, and development, stressing simultaneously the spectacle of ravaged swathes of living spaces and belongingness. Never far away from the realms of personal spaces, Navjot has pitched her own voice into some of her favorite films from Bergman, extracting cameos of close-ups and from interviews that reveal troubled minds and the sense of a redeeming touch. The extracts are important quotations for her as she moves to and fro relentlessly between psychological conditions and the series of documentations. Navjot then is discussing here quite vehemently so the phenomenology of a site or formal art ideas, as for instance the line and abstraction or political positions, her ingress and absorption into the consciousness of the other, whether it is land and its people and the architecture, contains discrete rhythmic threads from poetics of song to a pithy worded dreams. So I re-quote Rajkumar, who is one of Navjot's co-workers, a collaborator in works produced in her sessions in Chhattisgarh. The dream line, which we can read there, it's upstairs, and which Nancy has sensitively placed below Navjot's line sketch, reads, as you will see, "ए छत चांद का है", मतलब यह छत चांद का है, पीछे दीवारें हैं और डिजाइन है चांद और तारे. The phrase from an artisan artist frames the claim to this earth, and it raises a metaphorical monument to humanity, the earth and the cosmos. That's all. Thank you.
On behalf of National Gallery of Manna, Ministry of Culture, Government of India. Today it's a very special occasion. Navjot Altaf's retrospective exhibition is inaugurated. The Earth's Art Torn Out. It's a great exhibition. If you have a sensible mind, you can realize what is the lonely planet, the part of the life of a woman in a different stages. You can see the pains of a woman and what is happening in the earth, what we are doing, our needs and greeds. You can realize it showing this exhibition. I congratulate Navjot Altaf for this great exhibition, putting up and giving an opportunity to see her life journey. I also thank Guild Art Gallery, Shahani, and the great art critic, Director General Mr. Garanayak, Director Rupavataram, and incidentally the former chairperson of NGMA Advisory Committee, Mr. Swaz Bolkar is here, and many dignitaries, and incidentally chairperson of Lalit Kala Academy, Honorable Chairperson Mr. Charan also here. I thank you each and everyone for coming and making this exhibition event successful. I also, last but not the least, I would like to thank for everyone who had contributed for putting up this exhibition day and night. It has taken almost 1 week, day and night. All our NGMA staff, outside technicians, all kind of a support from our press and friends. Thank you very much, and please have a visual treat and enjoy the show, and please join us for a not only visual treat, just have a cup of tea. Thank you very much. Thank you.